Good evening, and I'm calling to order the Budget Finance Committee emergency meeting. Today is April 11, 2024. The agenda item is new business, consideration of committee vote at April 2, 2024 meeting regarding annual town meeting warrant Article 26, Public Works Garage. And I called for tonight's meeting to be held as a means for the Budget Finance Committee to express concerns and comments in the public forum for full transparency. The Budget Finance Committee voice needs to be heard. And with that, I would ask if there are any members of the committee that have comments that they would like to make regarding how the vote was handled with the select board and also with how the vote was handled with the Budget Finance Committee. Is there anyone that would like to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. If I can start on my statement by referencing the select board meeting this past Monday, April 8th, 2024, a very wise comment was made by one of the selectmen at 6:53 p.m. And throughout my statement, you would notice me giving timestamps to previous meetings. And I encourage anyone listening to follow these timestamps, as all these meetings are recorded and can be found on Raymond's YouTube channel. The very wise comment made by this particular selectman was, and I quote, "There's what's said and what's real." The comment was in reference to some potential misinformation regarding solar that does not pertain to my statement here. What is important is that within that same night, there were numerous things said about this committee and the reasons why we did not recommend Article 26. That's simply not real. A narrative was fabricated that night at 7:02 p.m. by one of the selectmen that the Budget Finance Committee has, quote, "no consideration given for the safety of the public works employees." The same selectman carried this fabricated narrative with such emotion he nearly lost it. His words. Shortly after this statement, he called the Budget Finance Committee vengeful and once again asked why the safety was not a consideration of this committee. I'm not going to attack everything that was said that night. Our committee made a technical error that will affect how our true decision is presented on the warrant. My emotions of that error are not reflected in this statement, but as a follow-up to April 8th selectman meeting, it's important to separate fact from fiction. And if anyone believes it's because this committee is vengeful for some weird reason, let's look over the facts. Meeting of April 2nd, 2024, Karen Lockwood states, "To date, the budget committee has only received a floor plan and a rough estimate of materials costs from a technical firm, not a supplier. That's all we received in this binder." A similar statement was made by Dennis Morse before Karen Lockwood's written statement. Karen continued, "Without the proper documentation, I'm not confident to move forward with a $6.2 million bond. We don't know if 6.2 is enough. Perhaps a larger public works garage would be in the best interest of the town." I'm on the record many times echoing the same statement. This was not the first time these concerns were brought up by this committee, as we are on the record numerous times saying these exact things over the past several months. However, certain selectmen feel blindsided and are in shock that the Budget Finance Committee is looking for accountability, the same accountability that is owed to the citizens of Raymond. We have been publicly opposed to the process or lack thereof in giving us the information to make informed decisions. It's interesting this committee is accused of spreading misinformation, and yet we had a total lack of information with the exception of floor plans and engineering report at our April 2nd meeting. We never saw the additional information supposedly dated March 20th, 2024 that was presented at the April 8th selectmen meeting, which of course was held 1 week after our recommendations for the warrant. We were not even challenged the night of April 2nd by the selectman or the public works director who were present in our meeting and heard our claims that we only received floor plans and engineering reports. If additional information was available, that would have been the time to interject, just as they did on other matters. That same night, the additional information was presented at Select Board meeting April 8th. One of the selectmen asked the people of Raymond to think about the investment we have made in equipment for this town and how many millions of dollars that has been spent. And I want to go on the record and say that I 100% agree with his statement and he has my full backing. But if I could take it one step further, along with trucks and equipment, don't you think that the people of Raymond want their new $6 million investment protected by the best possible fire prevention system and not one that just saves money? What about the safety of our employees, the same ones that this committee is accused of not giving any consideration to? I'm not an expert in fire suppression, so I can't say what the correct fire suppression system is. But I would like to ask the question, for insurance purposes, do we know what the requirements are? And will our insurance premium be higher if we have a certain system as opposed to another? This committee is accused of not just listening that we are AAA rated. March 11, 2024, Budget Finance Committee, 7:37 p.m. I am on the record of saying that I understand we are AAA rated. And I want to thank those of you, past and present, who have guided this town to its AAA rating. It's nothing that I can take credit for. It's so far before my time in this community. But going back to the facts, our opposition was not because of debt. And that has clearly been stated multiple times. I would like to close with this. The competence of this Budget Finance Committee was questioned the night of April 8th. I would like to remind all those who are watching, it was the efforts of this committee 1 year ago that stopped what would have been a disastrous and premature $3.5 million bond to build a public works garage that had zero planning. Interesting that the same $3.5 million garage 1 year later is now needing a $6 million bond. This committee is very competent, and I'm proud to represent the citizens of Raymond in their best interest.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
We don't read ethics.
Frank?
Thank you. This meeting is made necessary by a decision of the Board of Selectmen to nullify the unanimous vote of the Budget Committee due to the alleged procedural error suggested by the town manager, Sue Look. The unanimous Budget Committee vote was not to recommend a new $8.2 million public works garage facility, including debt service, until the proper planning had been done. This necessary work includes performing a needs assessment, completing engineering architectural design, seeking requests for proposals, obtaining competitive building contractor, cost quotations, and more importantly, convening a building committee to study the actual need, hold public hearings, and to allow the public to have input in considering such a major project in the open town meeting versus a secret ballot vote, or at least having a public hearing on the proposed budget. The outline process is a standard level capital improvement planning and due diligence. The Budget Committee is not opposed to the possibility of a new facility, but is opposed to this proposal being pushed through by the Board of Selectmen, Town Manager, and Public Works Director without going through the proper process. One other important issue is that no alternatives were ever looked at, including adding on to the existing district Public Works garage here in East Raymond. I ask people to please attend this meeting tonight if they could, and to make sure they know what the issues are. I would ask everyone watching the show to let the Board of Selectmen know that understanding such a major project in this haphazard, incomplete way does not constitute transparent good government, or proper financial stewardship. I serve on 2 committees in the town of Raymond, and I guess I'm the oldest member on both committees. Both this committee and the Comp Plan Committee have members, young members, thank God, finally, that really are doing the job for the town of Raymond. I am proud to say I am serving on both of those committees. They are people who truly have the interest of the town at heart. And I hope things like this do not discourage them to give up the ghost, nor anyone else in the town of Raymond to give up the ghost and not let good things happen for this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Dennis?
I didn't see the chairperson's notice that we should have a written statement. But there are some things I'd like to say, so it'd be a little bit less fluid, because I thought she did a good job with what she had to say at the last meeting. Her statement was to the point and had all the facts that was necessary. However, what I've decided to do is to explain to people who don't understand this. When we volunteer and get elected, we have to take the same code of ethics that the Board of Selectmen do. We have a town ordinance that went through in 1980 that we adhere to, that tells us exactly what our powers are, what our responsibilities are, and whatnot. They overlap in many ways, but I want to read just part of the code of ethics so you understand what we swore to. Number one, very important, we will have integrity in all matters. Number three, I'm going to skip some of them they're nice but not necessary tonight. I will come to the board meetings informed concerning the issues under consideration. Informed is kind of important to me and to us. I will make formal decisions based on any, and number five, I will make formal decisions based on any and all applicable law, local, state, and federal regulations and ordinance. Number seven, I will communicate in accordance with the board policy, public reaction, and opinion regarding board policy, actions, and program to the full board and administration. Communicate in accordance, I'm sorry. I will bring about desired changes through legal and ethical procedures, upholding and enforcing all laws, state regulations, court orders pertaining to the board. Number 11, I will make no decisions on behalf of the board unless expressly authorized by the board. Number 13, I will be informed about current issues through individual study and participation in appropriate programs such as those sponsored by state and association. Those are important so that we come into these meetings and don't take all night to ask questions, which is unfortunately what we've been forced to do. February 2nd, we gave them a list. Frank and I sat down because we've been involved with this town, myself since '99 and Frank since the Mayflower. But the reality is we had quite a comprehensive list, and on top of the most important thing was what I'll read, which is the capital improvement program. But under the Budget and Finance Committee, there's 2.5 pages. I'm just going to read a couple things. But it was adopted in March of 1980, was amended in 1995, and again in 2018. I asked Bob if he knew anything about this, and Bob's been on the committee for 12 years. This was not made available. No one in the select board ever gave us this. We had to go in and find it ourselves. And I found it last year when the chairman of the board told me that I had one choice, and that's to vote up or down recommendations by the board. So I started looking, and I found all kinds of interesting things. For example, and I'll read a couple things, to consider each article for raising, appropriating, and borrowing monies to be expended by or for the town with the opportunity for discussion with those person proposing the same, that would be department heads and those such, to make recommendations on such articles to the town meeting for which they were drawn, and which shall appear in the warrant in substantially the following form. The Town Budget and Finance Committee recommend and approval or disapprove. I can't find anything anywhere I looked in the whole thing that brings up the select board doing that. I'm sure it must be there somewhere, but we know we have that right at the town meeting. B, to discuss and make recommendations to the select board on these proposals for such expenditures. Now imagine they're getting information March 20th that we don't get. They show it on April 8th, I think, or whatever the date was, and say it was here March 20th. Not appropriate. To investigate and recommend at the appropriate, and this is about federal grants and stuff, but that really we wouldn't have an opportunity to do unless we had a background in grants. But it's nice to have the ability. To study and make recommendations on the general financial positions, policy, and practices of the town and its departments. In other words, if one department has to do a capital improvement program and plan, and another department doesn't, so it's called CIP, capital improvement, you'd want to know why one has a difference than the other, but you'd want to understand it. We requested February 2nd, the past 5 years, and the plan going forward the next 5 years, because what's important in F is that we are to develop and maintain, with the input from all other committees and boards in the town, a 5-year moving capital improvement plan. A plan isn't just the numbers that they gave us when we requested it. It simply listed what the department heads had put in on one department, and another department that had a plan. And so we kept requesting that information, and we don't even have it to this day, February 2nd. That's not a false statement. That's a fact. So when you look at this, it kind of says it all when you hear the frustrations and some of even the nerves here, because it's more than a frustration. It's really some dedicated people here, maybe one of the best committee I've ever been on, and I've been involved with the city's government and town government since 1979. And I'll tell you, on top of that, I've never seen this happen, this kind of process where a committee that's by ordinance has the power to the oversight of the finances of a town and have it nullified on a technicality. So let me tell you what really upsets me, though. Under membership, the Budget and Finance Committee will consist of 7 voting members, plus, and this is really important, the chair of the Select Board, who shall be a non-voting ex-official member. Isn't that huge? Because at our last meeting, our member, the Select Board chair, sat in the back of the room with Mrs. Sadak and Nathan White and never straightened out the town manager or corrected her. And this chairman's been a parliamentary for years, and he's the one that railed on us. He sat in this room, heard the town manager make a recommendation that caused this problem, and never spoke up. He's a member of our committee. He didn't sit up here with us. That's frustrating. I'm telling you, out of everything I've ever seen, this reversal and nullification takes this ordinance and throws it out the window. And I could go on, but the reality is it doesn't pass the straight face test. March 20th, they had information we didn't get. February 2nd, we requested stuff, and one or two department heads, one department head in particular, did not give us the information to this day. The process is over. The warrants supposedly were printed shortly after their vote. And here we sit. You know, an elected group, officials of oversight on the financial of this town, both current and in the future, have been nullified, one of the major votes for the town. When I went in January and there was an agenda for the town meeting, I spoke and said, there's $8 or $9 million worth of bonds with interest. I really think a open public meeting is really important, an annual town meeting where people can come in and ask questions. I was told that the vote already happened. And luckily, one of the selectmen corrected the chair and said it hadn't happened yet. And they voted unanimous. I even gave the example of how 3 select board members kept me from moving forward with the public safety bill, and if it wasn't for 2 selectmen, Ada Brown and Frank's wife, Betty McDermott, that public safety bill would have never happened. We went through the whole process, and in the needs assessment, we eliminated a bay by extending bays an extra 8 feet, saving probably, at the time, I think it was $200,000. A needs assessment is important for both efficiency as well as transparency. Kind of curious, when they have a $250,000 roof that was put on the fire station because of the asphalt roof didn't hold up, we went through an RFP, request for proposal. We did everything the same way that the public safety building did. And Nathan White, sorry, he's the public works director, actually admitted there's no emergency. I never said there was an emergency. Why is this in such a hurry? And why are we being denied the right that the people have on a slight technicality? So that's why I'm frustrated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Bob, do you have any comments that you'd like to make?
I'm not prepared.
Okay. I don't have any additional comments to make at this time. So, we will move to the public comment. Would anyone from the public care to make some comments? Peter?
Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road, it's where my house is.
It's built on the traditional homeland of the Wabanaki, the people of the Dawnland. Always good just to remember that. Anyway, I don't want to restate things that have already been said. I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to use some quick notes in order to expedite things along. And I guess I also have a history of not being the briefest person in the world. So anyway, first thing I'd like to talk about is I'm not going to go over the whole recap of events. We've just got some key words here. Reconsider, indisputable, illegal, and intent. And what that means basically is that the step that was missed was to reconsider at the same meeting your vote, because technically, as you understand, what happened was that when you voted the first time, there was a resolution of that, and I believe it was a 0-6 unanimous vote, not for this committee to endorse a recommendation for Article 26. Then you proceeded to a second vote. But understand that when you took that first vote, the issue was resolved, and so the discussion or the Article 26 was no longer on the table. If it's not on the table, you can't discuss it. So what normally happens in that situation is there's a motion to reconsider. If that motion passes, then you could have proceeded on to your second vote. So that's the key word in reconsider. Indisputable. I don't claim to be an expert on Robert's rules. Most of my experience on Robert's rules comes from sitting on committees such as yours over time, both within the community and also at my place of work. So I believe it is indisputable. The term that was used in making that motion was made by two members of the select board, and they used the term illegal. It was an illegal motion. Now, I happen to know that Robert's rules has nothing to do with legality. What it is what was done in Robert's talk, which is what I believe all of this is about, is that the motion that you made was out of order. For someone to describe to the community that it was an illegal vote, that just, I think words matter, and I think you have to think about that, and that someone looking in could say, that Budget Finance Committee, bunch of elected officials, they're engaged in illegal actions. That's probably not putting you in the best light, and I would say is not respectful. But once again, words matter, and sometimes things are said. I would tell you that seemed to be that the select board, or at least a couple of the select board, took great offense to the pig in a poke comment and seized on that as not being respectful. I guess it's all individual of what you hear and how you feel about it. But I'll talk a little bit about civility in a minute. The next, reconsider, illegal, and indisputable. The last thing I would say under this category of recapping events is intent. And it's rare that I find a situation where I'm absolutely sure of what the intent of this committee was. Because you took 2 votes, and they were unanimous. So it's very clear to me what the intent of this committee was in formulating your decision on warrant Article 26. This committee did not want that article, would not recommend it, and does not recommend it, as far as I can tell. It's not always that clear. You don't always have 2 signposts here that say, "Whoa, that's really what they." But that's what they want. That's what you want. So I go on to the second part of this. I just say, and about watching that meeting on Monday, the select board, as I believe Dennis mentioned, as far as the outline of what the responsibilities are for this board, I know it's been for any board or committee I've been on, is that you come there knowledgeable and prepared, especially if you know you're going to be voting on something. And once again, go to the tape, and look at it for yourself. I'd encourage anybody out there in TV land to do that as well. But clearly what I heard was a select board member ask during the motion about approving the warrant as written, I quote, what got changed? And I'm not saying that as a criticism of the select board member. I'm saying that my feeling, having dealt with boards and committees, is to not prepare me to go in for a vote is disrespectful. It's setting me up to look like I don't know what I'm doing. And so I thought that was inappropriate. Anyway, I'd move on to part two of my, I've only got 3 parts. Robert's Rules Fundamentals, key words. There's only 2 words I'm going to use that I understand as far as Robert's Rules. And I think I even heard it mentioned by one of the members of this committee. And it's good government. That's my understanding of the fundamentals. I'm not a registered individual as far as being able to determine every small aspect of Robert's Rules. I know I'm not. I know I'm probably not even someone more qualified than anyone in this room. I don't know that I am. But what I do know is the fundamentals. Why was Robert's Rules established? And if I can read Robert's Rules, the definition is it's a specific set of parliamentary procedures, not laws, designed to take up business one item at a time, promote courtesy, fairness, and impartiality, and ensure the right of the majority while protecting the rights of the minority. Sounds like democracy to me, folks. That's the underpinnings of Robert's Rules. So, that being said, this is directly from Robert's Rules. These rules of order should not be used to obstruct or thwart the will of the assembly. And someone can challenge me on that, but I can give you the addition and the page number of Robert's Rules if you want to read that. So I guess as far as part 2 is concerned, the fundamental rules for which Roberts was based is basically saying what you want is good government, and you want Robert's Rules to be used for the good, not for the evil. Part 3 is infractions of Robert's Rules. I've already said it's not debatable. There was an infraction of Robert's Rules during your vote. So the key words here are April 8th, relinquishing the chair, bylaws, and interim CEO. So once again, go to the tape. All right? So as far as April 8th, on April 8th at the Select Board meeting, when we talk about are there infractions in Robert's Rules, since that's what this is coming down to, the relinquishing of the chair, which is I do not see done much on our committees. I don't get heartburn when I'm watching it, and I don't see it happen. I think that Robert's Rules says that the chair if the chair is going to engage in a discussion on a motion, they need to step down as chair, relinquish their responsibilities as chair, transfer it to the vice chair or someone else the committee wants to be the chair, because you don't want an unchaired meeting. And then the chair can basically speak not as the chair, but as a member. And the reason for this is for fairness. Because, as you know, the chair exerts a certain amount of influence over the rest of the committee or the board. And I don't think any of us are naive enough to know or feel that I'm going to relinquish this and turn it over to the vice chair. Now I'm going to tell you what I think, is that's necessarily going to take anything out of the influence on the rest of the committee members. But it's an attempt on Robert's rules to maintain fairness and impartiality, which is also a requirement of any chairperson chairing a meeting under Robert's rules. That's why generally chairs don't make motions, right? They can say, I would entertain a motion. That's prompting someone on the committee to make a motion. But generally, the idea is the chair, being in the special position they're in, shouldn't be exerting undue influence on the members. So at the April 8th meeting, keyword, there was no relinquishing of the chair when this issue was discussed. And that's, I got to tell you, that's not just an infraction of Robert's rules. Pull up the bylaws of the Select Board of Raymond, Maine, and you will see that Article 4 says that the chair needs to relinquish the chair if they're going to speak. Now, I'm not saying it as a criticism. I've known this forever. Quite honestly, the chair of this committee did the same thing. She had the good sense first to ask someone, should I step down? And unfortunately, the town manager gave her bad advice according to Robert's rules. So, since this is all thing Robert's rules, I'll be finishing up quickly. Interim CEO. If you go to the tape, what you'll see, and I'm sure this is pretty well known now, that when the appointment of the temporary, or how, I'm sure, I forget how it was actually worded. Yeah, interim, thank you. The interim code enforcement officer was made. There was a motion, there was a second, there was discussion, and then the chair moved on without calling a vote. I'm not criticizing that. That's a human mistake on a busy agenda. I'm not. What I'm saying is, if what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you're going to use Robert's rules as a blood instrument, then you use it everywhere, and everybody does it. And I believe, I'm worried that that's exactly what this precedent is going to set. Because I know, as a co-chair of a committee right now, boy, I'm going to be extra careful about following Robert's rules, because I don't want the selectmen to be reversing decisions that this committee made, or the committee I'm on made. So I just, I think that was suggested a little too, as far as maybe discouraging people to be involved. I worry about that, but I think I hit I guess one observation, as far as, nobody's perfect. If you watch that tape, what you'll see is at the very end of not taking the vote, the junior member of the select board kind of went, did we vote on that? And what the selectman, the chief there said was, oh yeah, we did. Yeah. And then what you'll hear is the vice chair chiming in and said, oh yeah, I'd let you know if we didn't. And by the way, that individual also serves as the parliamentarian for the committee. So I guess I'll say no more about that, other than everybody can make mistakes. I think it goes more to the intent of Robert's rules. Do we want good government? And what was the real reason for the select board to reverse the intent of a vote of the only other elected group in the town on something that very clearly the intent was there? What purpose does it serve? I just leave that question out there. Maybe somebody will answer it for me. What's the intent of this? Does it make a difference that there's going to be a referendum or a ballot that goes out? Does it make a difference whether on a $6 or an $8 million bond that the voter is going to see selectmen recommends, budget finance committee does not recommend? Does that make a difference versus selectmen recommends, budget finance committee no recommendation? I'd ask you that. I'm not sure. But there's people that are a little more savvy in politics than me to understand that. So I'll just close with this. What I'm seeing here, in general, is disturbing me primarily because going back to the fundamentals of Robert's Rules and good government. And what I'm seeing, and I can't believe that it has been escaped by many other in this audience or people out in TV land, that right now in Raymond, we are a microcosm of government across the state and the nation, which is divisive, nasty, or basically adopting the attitude that do whatever it takes. And I would have a big ask at the end. I've always been told at the end of any type of comments, make an ask. So here's my ask. Everybody in this room, everybody out in TV land, the citizens of the town, if you have expertise in Robert's Rules and you're watching or attending a meeting, whether in an official capacity or just as a citizen, which is what I am here today. I am not representing any other group. These are my opinions. Just wanted to make sure I got that disclaimer in there. The bottom line is that if you're hearing something that you think is at a meeting or a board meeting or whatever, a committee meeting, and you hear something that you say, oh, that really isn't following Robert's Rules to the letter, and there's no consequence to it, the outcome is going to be the same whether you speak up or not. All you're doing is being an impediment, you know? You're a pimple on the ass of progress. That's what you are. However, if what you're going to do is step up and say, no, the infraction of this rule of Robert's Rules really has some deleterious effects down the road. And it's questionable as to what the intent of the framer of that motion was. Then you got to speak up. And that's what, like I say, whatever capacity you are in attendance or viewing that. It's an obligation. If not a legal obligation, it certainly to me seems to be an ethical observation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Well said.
Don?
Don Willard, 149 Spiller Hill Road. I hadn't intended to be here. I certainly hadn't intended to speak. I didn't know about the comments that the board was going to make, but I did watch the meeting the other evening, and you know, I was going to go through some points about that, but Peter is a very difficult guy to follow because he covers everything so thoroughly, and he hit all that stuff, so I think I'm just going to speak from the heart tonight. And I would tell you that I served in local government for 40 years, and I got into it to try to make a positive difference in the world. And you know, when I first started, people worked together. Even though it was not all, you know, wine and roses, people would try to collaborate, cooperate, and work in the best interest of the community. And that's what I saw in 3 communities, including Raymond. And when I watched the meeting the other night, I was frankly shocked. It was unusual, the action the Board of Selectmen took against the interests of the elected body that is actually the oversight body for them. And so unusual, it was more than unusual, it was outrageous. And I always followed the tenet in my own career of you can never go wrong by doing right. I tried always to do right. I tried to treat people fairly. I tried to treat people with respect and to be a caring person. We're a small community in the little state of Maine. We can do a hell of a lot better than what we saw the other night. I tell you, it makes me angry, and I'm really upset with the direction of the town and, you know, this particular elected body, the Board of Selectmen. It seems to me that a lot of what's happening is happening outside of the meetings. You know, I can't prove that, of course, but you come to the meetings or watch the meetings and you see that everything's, you know, preordained. And that's wrong. It's not transparent. It's not good government. It's not fair. The citizens of the town of Raymond deserve a whole hell of a lot better than that. And I'm just saddened by the whole circumstance, and I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Is anyone on Zoom?
Anyone on Zoom that would like to make a comment?
Hi, Brian.
Yes? What's-
Hi, Brian Walker, 12 Rolfe Road in Raymond. First of all, I want to thank the Budget Finance Committee for their service. I served on the Budget Finance Committee for, I believe it was 8 years, stepping down probably about 6 years ago. And I know the work is difficult, but it is also an extremely important role. And I think what we're seeing here is a good example of the role that you play. Peter Levitt did an amazing job of laying out a lot of things, and I kind of zeroed in on that word intent, because I do think what this comes down to is what was the intent of the of the Budget Finance Committee. I watched the April 2nd meeting of the Budget Finance Committee. I watched the April 8th meeting of the Select Board, and I'm watching tonight, obviously. Those are the data points that I have. I haven't been very engaged in government here in Raymond for a while. But off of that small amount of input, what I saw saddened me, frankly. And I do think it goes back to intent. I think the intent of the Budget Finance Committee is pretty clear. To dismiss their intent on a technicality, I understand that, but I also saddens me because of the value of having different kinds of opinions and perspectives. Discussion, debate, differences, these are things that are healthy for democracy. They're healthy for small towns, they're healthy for the state, they're healthy for the nation. And stifling them damages it. And if you do it at the local level, the state level, or the national level, we do damage to our country. If we were to get creative, first of all, I would ask for the Select Board to try to adjust their thinking and see if they could come up with a creative way to allow the Budget Finance Committee to have an indication of their difference of opinion on that particular article, warrant article. If it can't be done in a legal way of if printing's already occurred, or if there's something else that can happen, how about just a simple creative way of communicating to the townspeople through the website, through our various boards that are at our public safety building and at the town offices, that you can go onto the website to hear the different points of opinion, so that townspeople can make a decision as to whether or not the Budget Finance Committee had the adequate information to be able to have made a favorable decision on this, or whether they were valid in their concerns. It seems that we can be creative about this if the Select Board is open to that idea of allowing debate and differences of opinion to flourish rather than be stifled in Raymond. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else on Zoom that would interested in making any comments?
I don't see any hands.
Okay.
Can I have more comment?
Pardon me?
More comment?
It's time for Budget Finance Committee comment.
Okay.
Would you like to make a comment?
Just one more comment. I'm impressed with the knowledge of this town, sitting on the two boards here, but also just listening to others. I was impressed by for example, the solar, all this stuff, and I appreciate what has to go into anybody that ever sits on any of these boards, what they have to go through to make the best decision for the town. I have a lot of respect for that, but unfortunately, there are some people I have a little more respect for and I want to pull knowledge from than others, and I would like for that to change, because no matter if I have respect for somebody or not, they have knowledge. And I want that knowledge, because I don't expect everybody that's up here right now to be here over the next however long, no offense. But I need that knowledge so I can run the town, or I'm sorry, not to run the town, I can work on these boards for the next generation, for your grandkids, for my children. If I don't have the respect because of stuff that goes on that is just petty, I can't pull that, if I can't get that respect from you, I can't get that knowledge from you. So I'm asking for that to kind of change. And I'm asking for anybody who has knowledge to pass it on to me. And not just me. We need more younger people. We really do. That's why I appreciate your comments so much all the time, especially in the comprehensive plan. I'd like to see more people my age and younger to keep this town as awesome as it is today.
I agree. I agree.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Derek Ray just entered into Zoom. I'm not sure if he has any comments.
Okay. Derek Ray, would you care to make any comments? Just that.
What's up?
Would you care to make any comments?
Comments on what? So I literally just got home from my son's basketball game, so I haven't heard anything. I got in about 10 seconds ago, so I don't probably have any comments.
He's not asking
Yeah.
what changed.
Okay. Yes? Yes, go ahead.
Craig Messenger, 342 Raymond Hill Road. I just want to say thank you to you folks. You've done a remarkable job. Anytime elected officials put their time and effort into what you're doing is admirable. And I do think it's a shame that you've been overruled for what seems to be just a minute error that, as Peter alluded to, he took the wind out of all of our sails. Happens just about every meeting you could throw a rock at. So it seems to me that that's a shame, and that one group of individuals in this town seems to have so much power over everybody else. I think that needs to change, and I hope a lot of people are listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Right.
Madam Chairman, may I make a closing statement?
Yes, you may, Frank.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to second what Sean said. The future of this town depends on the younger people in this town getting involved in every way possible. You have the energy, you have the knowledge, you have the stamina to make this town the best town in the Lake region. There is no doubt about that. We have the resources to be the leading community all throughout southern Maine. And you can do it if you get involved. If you don't get involved, you're just going to see more of the same.
I do have a question. I was
Okay.
hoping the town manager would be here, and obviously she's going to do it a different way, but I see Cerise is, and I'm wondering, they're part of putting together the warrants, and I think we can ask her publicly when the warrants were sent into print, because we have a email from the chairman telling us it was too late and it was sent in, I don't know, 2 days ago, I guess. So if it's possible to get an answer from someone from Town Hall that was a part of putting the warrants together. Don? Cerise is here. I can ask her, right?
I don't have any specific information about this particular instance, but I would tell you that to pull the warrant together, to get it off to print, and have it be non-amendable in any way or not be able to be reconsidered, I've never, that's unheard of. I can't imagine that was the case.
Well, that would be the second thing I was going to say. What would it cost to pull the printing? Because I know when I put...
Yeah, and what you do,
printing-
if you make a mistake, and I think what has happened here is there's been a mistake. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's
Well,
say
let's-
it's not an evil intent. Let's say it's a mistake. What you do when you make a mistake is you correct it. So even if the warrant's been printed, you reprint it.
I'd just soon find out when it went into print.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you, I can't imagine it was into print. You say, when was this
The
email?
email I don't have with me right now, but...
What time of day, I mean?
Do you have the copy of the email returned when you said it was too late, when you asked the question to... We actually, through the chair, asked to reconsider, the select board reconsider, but... Yeah.
Sharice is on the phone.
I would think it would have taken, a couple of days at least.
Cerise? Do you know when it went in? I mean, you worked on it.
Yeah, I did. So basically, my role is to assist Sue with the amounts of the articles, not so much
Printing.
the articles, the warrant. The deadline that I understand that she had was tomorrow. When it went to print, I do not know that. So I don't know what other information I can provide. I'm just kind of an in-between, person, and requests are coming from Budget Finance. They are now directed to the town manager. I provide her with the information to the best of my ability, and then she forwards it on to you folks. As far as the timing, I'm pretty responsive of anything that's requested of me. So I really can't tell you when it went to print.
But you know when you finished
When I finished,
with your work.
I'll just make this comment, and this is just coming from me personally. There wasn't ever a final warrant provided.
This happens on a regular basis. I'm joking, really.
I do have the
Anyway.
email and I have the response.
Okay.
That on Tuesday at 2:21 PM, the response came back that it's too late. The warrant articles have been finalized and sent off for ballot.
Monday
Tuesday.
or Tuesday, okay.
Tuesday afternoon at 2:20.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So who did you write to?
To the chair of the select board.
Okay, and what time of day?
I sent it out Tuesday at 2:19 requesting if the select board would reconsider their motion to finalize the warrant so that the Budget Finance Committee could have a chance to reconsider our vote.
And you were told it was too late, it
I
had
was
gone to
told-
print, and who told you that?
The chair of the select board.
Okay, I'm curious how the chairman of the Board of Selectmen would know that, and that's a kind of a deep internal thing. Oh, she was pointing to you. But anyway, I'm just really skeptical that the timeline works. And I haven't been in this business for a long, long time. You can say the timeline or the deadline was, tomorrow, the next day. Printers work with the town. There's flexibility. And if you've made an error, and I think we'll call this an error, you correct the error. And the thing that makes me really, as I understand it, upset, I mean, this came out of the blue, I think, that the committee didn't even know this action was going to be taken. It wasn't clearly delineated on the agenda. I mean, you couldn't tell it was coming, and no one knew it was coming. And you go back to the idea of the chair sitting as an ex officio member and a parliamentary procedure expert, and to me, I mean, it's all been covered, but the right thing to do is you stand up and you say there's a small error here, and then to have gotten defective advice from the town manager, I guess that happens, people make mistakes, but I think there should be some sort of response from her as to why she made that recommendation and why she didn't step up when she knew she made a mistake and correct it and contact the chair. That's what I would have done. I've made mistakes, and the thing to do is to own up to your mistakes, contact the individual that's involved, and then fix it. This is not a big issue. This can be easily fixed. It can be easily fixed now. It's a matter of will and right.
Thanks.
Madam Chair, Therese is back with us.
Okay. Sharice? Do you have any further comments, Sharice?
Sorry about that. My computer needed to be charged, low battery. So what I was saying, I'm not sure how much you caught, but what I was saying was I was surprised that the actual final warrant was not provided to perhaps me as a second eye. Even on the website, I don't believe there was a final warrant published. From what I understand, and I don't think the Budget Finance Committee even had the final warrant as it was going to be approved Monday evening. And what the Board of Selectmen did have was a single copy for their signature, from what I understand. But nothing was emailed to me or to any of the committee members, and I'm aware, or whatnot, or put on the website. So I just found it a little strange that a final warrant wasn't even, shared with, the powers to be, so to speak. And I'm just accustomed to doing, a double check, recheck, because errors do happen. And the more you recheck, the more you may find something that you overlooked, the second time you rechecked. So that just came as a surprise. But as far as the deadline as to when it was published, when it was sent for publication, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that.
Okay,
Thank
you. Peter?
Yeah, Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. So just to put on the Robert's Rules speak here, and certainly anyone who knows differently, correct me, because I'm not an expert or a parliamentarian, but the action that you needed to take when you took the initial votes was to reconsider. So that's the step you missed. However, Robert says that a motion to reconsider is only in order if you make it during the meeting or on the date that the vote was taken. After that, you do not have the option to reconsider. So as far as going back and asking to reconsider this now, there's no opportunity to do that, even if you made the case that the time frame was such that you were obviously working under some sort of deadline in order to get this done. But the bottom line is, Robert says, no, reconsider within the meeting or within the date. Sometimes they'll extend it over to the second day if you've continued the meeting into a second day, like Saturday, Sunday. I'd make a recommendation here. It will have no bearing on the language in the warrant unless the select board agree to change that language. However, what my recommendation would be that someone on this committee make a motion to vote on warrant Article 26, the Public Works Garage. What you would be doing at that point, and you are allowed to do that at a second meeting. Roberts is structured in such a way that what they don't want is the same motion being brought up time and time again within the same meeting. Roberts says it's perfectly appropriate for you to bring up that motion at the next meeting or a subsequent meeting. So my recommendation is that you make basically someone motions that the Budget Finance Committee will assign to warrant Article 26 the status of does not recommend. Have a discussion you would normally, like any other agenda item to be voted on. Don't leave out the second. And then have that discussion, and then take a vote. If nothing else, what you're doing is right now, tonight, you're planting your flag in what your decision was when you voted previously. It would, it's too bad the full board isn't here, but I think that there were only 6 members that voted at the initial meeting. So it would be interesting to see if that is still the intent of this committee. Thanks.
Okay, John?
I would just like to say one more thing, then I promise I won't get up again. Basically, the Board of Selectmen made, a discretionary decision here to say that this was a defect, and I think based on all the testimony that we've heard tonight, and as has been pointed out, Robert's Rules is not the law. This is not illegal. This is a tiny procedural error. And so they may have to balance, in my opinion, the good of what's best for the town. Is it best for the town to know that the Budget Finance Committee unanimously voted not to recommend the Public Works Garage for a lot of good reasons, which don't really matter because it's really more about your authority to be a check and balance on the Board of Selectmen and to have a recommendation on the warrant. And so I think that it's a much more powerful argument to say that, you know, the Board of Selectmen decided all of a sudden, I guess, that it was not appropriate because it had a small, you know, Robert's Rules error, and to say there'd be nothing there. And so I think they could reconsider their action and rescind their action and do the right thing and put your recommendation on there, as any other town that I've worked for or known of would do. This is just so unusual, as I said, so outrageous. This can be fixed, but you have to accept the idea that you made a mistake and fix it.
Hi, Teresa Sadak from Webbs Mills Road, and I'm also a select board member. I'm not going to stand here and defend what we did that night, but I do want to defend the town manager. So, no, don't even think so. So here's something that maybe I don't know everybody knows about this or not. Our town manager has been covering two positions. She was doing the town clerk because we did not have a town clerk, and she was doing the town manager's position. So saying that, the night that she talked to you guys doing this, she was in the town clerk position. It is my understanding, Karen, that you and Ralph Olson had a conversation earlier in the day, and he did explain all of this to you about the motion to reconsider, the motion to rescind. They don't make me a parliamentarian for a reason, it's because I don't know that. But we'll go back and watch the tape, because she did not tell you guys she needed a motion from you, and words are being put out there that it's inaccurate. If you watched the tape, it says, Sue says, "Madam Chair, will you entertain another motion, or do you want it to go forth with no recommendation from the BF?" That is what she said. Yes. And what happens is she did not say, "I need another motion from you guys." So to say that she did say she need that is incorrect information, and it's putting blame on Sue Luck for something that happened that was not her fault. So I would like to, because she is not here, to clarify it herself and defend her. That's why I'm saying this.
My apologies.
Thank you for that.
We listened to her looking for advice. And what I thought I heard was a way to move forward with it, with another motion. And again, there was a lot going on in that. And I apologize for that.
There was, and I think the other thing I would like to apologize on behalf is both boards, on your guys' behalf and on ours. And you guys may think, why am I apologizing? Because of some of the tactics that are being used. Frank, what an email that you put out there in your Facebook posts, let me tell you. And you know what? And you also have incorrect information in there again about the suit, about town manager, and that's not accurate. You guys are doing things your way. I get that. I have to say, the budget finance literally has not done as much as what you guys are doing this year, with getting involved and getting information, but also too is I think there is a gap. You brought up something about the selectmen never gave you a certain paper. Don't know that we're supposed to give you the paper. I don't know as far as what your job duties are. I don't know if that's the selectman's job or not. Do you know what I mean?
No, it came through the town manager, but I didn't want to criticize her because what I saw the first time was the chairman whipping around paperwork saying it came March 20th. So
No, the job duties. Job duties. You said that the selectman never gave you the job duties, and you had that weird piece of paper, just earlier, a piece of paper that you found, you said.
Job,
It's
The ordinance?
The ordinance.
Oh, the ordinance, yeah, we never received that.
No, I don't know, but you said the selectman never gave you that. I don't think it's the selectman that give you that.
Well, I think if we're working together, as Sean said, the education comes through the elected officials and the town manager. And so for people to be volunteering to come on a committee and have an ordinance, you would think when we're sworn in, the town would give us this ordinance so that we would know really what our responsibilities are when we do the code of ethics.
Well, but you would also think that all the books have been approved by the town managers and put together the way they were supposed to be, and Sue's pretty new at it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's something there. So the other thing too is we've always had a protocol in the past where we always went through the chairs, so we could get all the same questions answered, and we could get everybody's on the same page as far as information. Where the disconnect is, I don't know. And you know, and I'll be quite honest, I feel like, and this is my opinion, that there is an ulterior motive here on this too. But I don't want that, because we do all have to work together. You guys don't get paid. We don't get paid. At least I turn mine back in. Do you know what I mean? And it's where and when can we make this change to work together?
May I ask what you think this alternative motive is? Because for a guy like me, I understand what the process are.
I'm sorry, I'm not saying everybody. There's certain individuals, so I will say that.
Okay, well, that's fine, but
No, not you. You're asking questions and stuff like that. So yeah, so no. And when do we lay everything down and just have a workshop and just kind of talk it out?
my ideas of the workshop, like with the exception of one issue, we all wanted the same thing, and we still want the same thing. I'm going to talk about me personally. I want the public works garage.
Right.
In this binder, we received only 2 documents, and we never received anything else to support the $150,000 that was given.
Right.
How am I supposed to tell the townspeople that this is a good thing when I don't have those documents? Everything else that we did on this last several months, all the hard work, I enjoyed working with you. There is knowledge that you guys have, and I am eager to eat it up. But when it came to this one issue, me personally, I'm not opposed. I want this garage. I did a tour of both of those, of the down by the salt shed and the one over here.
Yep.
I want that garage. And there was a comment that was made, well, if you want it, just fund it. That's not how money works, you know?
You want to just, I didn't hear, I'm sorry, yep.
If you want it, just fund it. And I can't stand by that. I can't stand, and so when it came to this one issue that was basically from last year, it's still last year's issue in my mind, that's my problem is with it, is that we're looking for information. We want to do better for this town, and I'm going to repeat myself, but I want to see this town do well.
Right.
And that's my comment.
Well, and I think too is I know, and Deanna and I had a really good talk before she left to go out west, and one of the things that the select board live it every day in and day out, the stuff that's going on in the town, and you guys don't. And you guys are in without, I don't know if you are getting the monthly reports, or those had stopped for a little while too, so we get the monthly billings. So you guys,
Yes.
You get them?
Just started getting them because I requested them.
Okay, so that way you guys are up more on that as to what's going on. So all of a sudden you guys aren't coming in crunched, whoa, here we go, trying to figure it all out. Do you know what I mean? So on that, I said to her too, I said, okay, I understand that, you know. The other thing is, I said to her on the phone, I said, I'm asking you guys to trust us. And I said to trust us to say, because I know Nathan said several times that he's meeting with them. He's meeting with them. And he told you he's going to get the reports and stuff like that. And literally the next morning, he met with and I don't know if he said it at our meeting, the electrical engineer. There's like 4 different engineers or whatever. Boom, we got him. Do you know what I mean? So, I just totally lost my train of thought. So what's happening is we're asking you guys to trust us because we live it every day, and trust Nathan. But then I stop and think and go, okay, wait a second. I'm asking you not to listen to somebody else because it's not your job to. It is your job to checks and balance us. It's to checks and balance, but not micromanage the town. And I think something that's concerning is when you do have members of your team that are calling our engineers and that are going in and checking stuff out, that we should be making appointments. There is a protocol. But on the other hand, is were you guys ever told that? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think I can speak differently than the rest of the board because I was fire chief here for 12 years, and I had interaction with selectmen all the time, as well as the budget committee, and we welcomed it. And we had open houses for the citizens. I don't think I ever heard anyone said, don't go into one of our stations, make an appointment before you go in. And actually, we were, Deanna and I said, let's go take a look at the truck sitting out in the weather, because we kept hearing it from one particular selectman that the $400,000 trucks are sitting out in the rain getting rusty. When in fact, they were in a 100-foot by 60-foot old salt shed out of the weather. That alone I heard over and over again. So all I was saying is, let's put the brakes on and do the regular procedure as Karen outlined in a letter, and we didn't talk about it. I was surprised she did it. We did not get together and decide what was going to be said or done. And it really said it all. All we wanted to do was have it consistent, whether it was a metal roof on the fire station or the process that the fire public safety building went through, because I can tell you, we made it smaller and more efficient with that process. I never once heard one selectman say, good idea, we should do that. In fact, what we heard is, in November's meeting, Nathan, we're all behind that, even if it is just a floor plan. And I can quote you, don't cut that bay, that $800,000 you talked about. We want you to have what you want, before we even started.
Well, but
so that decision was already made by the board. And then you're saying, trust us. So what information did you have on needs and assessment that we didn't have?
No, because we hear it day in and day out, and from what is needed and stuff like that. But as far as what happened 12 years ago, and you being the fire chief and going in and out of the buildings then, that's not today. And I mean, you didn't make, I was gonna say, you didn't make an appointment down here, but I'm not even here to do the animosity here anymore. I'm not.
No, I understand that, Teresa. That's why I was explaining to you that when you go through the board the way they had it, it slows down a process that we start in February and it ends in April to get all this information that we still haven't gotten to this day.
You guys have all the designs.
No, we didn't.
We have never received any.
Nothing.
We received stuff. We received stuff.
They're online.
The only thing I have.
They are online.
They are now, but as a budget and select board that are working together, we didn't even get the warrants till we showed up here to vote on them. We didn't get a copy.
When were those posted? They were there on Monday. They were posted. That was even if it was Monday.
I don't
have to get the
know.
right. Oh, I'm sorry. What?
I don't know.
Okay.
I honestly don't know.
Even if it was, that was still after we had voted. So.
Well, and he told you that he was meeting them. That he was going to be meeting with everybody. He did tell you that. Yeah. But I do see your side. I see what you are saying. I do see it. I see that we are asking you to trust us as a select board, because I don't think and I think it's proven over the years, I don't think we spend frivolously. I don't think we are erroneous on our stuff.
I agree.
But I see what you're saying as far as your side. But I think and it's on both sides. The false information and the inaccurate information that is being put out there has got to stop on both sides.
But did you understand my point when I said if you have a person who's been on the board that's a parliamentarian who is a member of our budget committee, you shook your head no, because I was looking at you when I was talking about it, that how easy this whole meeting didn't have to happen if he simply said, that's not proper, let's correct it now?
Yeah, well, I was corrected when I didn't want to vote on the last thing. I don't want to say I have a bias on the fiber optics. I said
you said you were going to abstain.
Yeah, I was abstaining. I was told, and I kind of whispered it, and it was picked up. I know you had repeated it, but it was right off the bat. It's like, hey, you can't do that.
Well, in all honesty, I don't think Joe picked up on that. He did say he realized that he corrected you, and he should not have, because it's not our meeting. But he did not pick up on that vote until later. And Rolf is our parliamentarian, and he is the one that had picked it up later. So he did not pick it up here, because I think he would have said something to you, because he said something to you about abstaining.
Joe is definitely a member of our committee. There's no doubt about it.
Yep. Okay. That I don't know about. I honestly don't know about that. And I actually have the things up on my thing. I don't know about it. But when you say he's part of our committee, I mean, how many years, Bob, were you chair on here?
2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, I was gonna say a
Well,
lot
I was
longer.
on committee for that long, but not,
No, no, I mean, no, nobody's ever brought that up. Nobody's ever said anything. So again, that's, yeah.
Once I raised this issue, it was posted on the website. The select board can read it on the website like you would expect us to read it on the website.
You say that wasn't posted on the website?
No, it is now. It is now. It is now, but
Right.
all I'm saying is that it clearly was something that the intentions of the town people was to have a little separation of government, separation of power, if you will. And clearly, the chairman is on our committee. And clearly, he could have corrected it. And even if he wasn't on our committee, clearly he could have made this whole matter go away by simply being on the same team.
But,
You know,
but
like a
again, I
happy
don't
dance
think
team.
he realized it, because I think he would have said something then. I really do, because he said, and he also got up on a couple other comments. Dennis, I truly, honestly believe he would have said something. He would not have let you guys do that.
If that's the case, then why didn't he say, let them have another meeting, and before we put that to print, we'd get time?
I don't know.
I would like to respond to a couple of things. First of all, Rolf saying that he talked to me that day. He did talk to me. I went over to his house to drop something off, and we were standing in the driveway having a casual conversation. And then he starts talking to me about Robert's rules and goes into in-depth. It was 4:30 in the afternoon, and our meeting to vote was in 2 hours. I'm not listening to Robert's Rules of Order standing in a driveway when I have to go home and prepare for a meeting at 6:30. So I'm not standing there with a notebook. I'm not in a training session. I'm standing in a driveway. I did not pay attention to what he had to say. At that point in time, it was irrelevant to me.
Do you think maybe that Rolf brought it up for a reason that you might need it? Because Rolf's just not going to pop out with Robert's Rules of Order for your meeting. I think he maybe was just giving you some information beforehand. But no, it's your opinion. I mean, to you, it wasn't important to you. It wasn't relevant.
Not at that point in time, standing in a driveway 2 hours before a meeting.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm a note person. I'm sitting here with my notebook. I take notes on everything.
Okay.
Because I have to have the writing down of what's being said, and I didn't have that available to me.
Can I add something?
One more thing. When the discovery was made that the Budget Finance Committee had made a mistake in the sequence of the voting, and the second vote was out of order, no one notified us for us to take corrective action to do that. No one, not the town manager, not the town clerk, not the select board. So if we had had that notification, we could have taken action, but we found out during the voting of the select board meeting, which I feel is inappropriate. We should have been notified beforehand and had the opportunity to make a correction, and we were not notified.
Tuesday night was the meeting, correct?
Tuesday, April 2nd.
Was the meeting.
Night.
Right.
The Board of Selectmen.
So what happens is,
Monday,
for anybody that wasn't here, I don't know if he saw it then, Wednesday night started a nasty snowstorm. So it'd be Wednesday nights, so it's one day for anybody to catch. And a lot of times the videos are not online until probably early afternoon, and most people are working during the day. Wednesday night, snowstorm started. Thursday, lost power. Friday, lost power. Saturday, a lot of people are out of power still without the internet and everything else. So our meeting was supposed to be Thursday night. It got canceled because of the snow. So as to what happened, I know the town office was closed one of those Thursday. So I don't know what happened in those days. I just know that we were out of power for a couple of days. What went down from there, I don't know. And so as far as getting it Monday the town office isn't open. So I don't know.
Lisa,
Yeah.
can you explain why the chair was not notified of what the action you were going to take on your meeting was ahead of time?
I don't know.
Instead of us watching your meeting
I don't know.
on
I can't answer that.
I mean, do you think that was the right thing to do?
I don't know.
notifying us?
I can't answer that. I'm not the chair that sends it out, so.
Well, I'm just asking you as a member of that committee, do you think
Right.
that your committee had the responsibility of letting the chair know that you were going to take the action you took at that meeting? That we were prepared?
I'm going to just stand, I said, I'm not going to defend what we did. I'm not here to answer that. And as far as like notifying who, what on that, that's not my job to do that. So as to who notifies you of that, I don't know. I don't know. Is it the town manager? Is it the board chair? I don't know.
Who put it on the agenda?
Who put? It'd be the board chair, and it would be the town manager. No, it'd be the town manager and the board chair.
Okay, so Joe would have been the one that should have notified us then, that he was putting it on the agenda.
I don't know. I don't know.
One thing I will say about the Robert's Rule of Order, and I did.
Stop.
I did in fact use them.
Did you just tell me to shut up? Seriously? I think you need to keep a rein on it. Got it? Thank you.
The reality is, I should have known a little bit more about rules of order on the Roberts because I was union president for a while and we did use them. But when I did go through looking for any kind of indication of I know in the bylaws with the Board of Selectmen, it says the Board of Selectmen will follow it. When I looked at the ordinance that governs budget and finance, I don't know why that's not included, and I'm sure it should be included in it. But my feeling is that our role is a lot less public-oriented than the Board of Selectmen as far as, you know, you have meetings every month. Ours is really just 2 months, basically, is what happens, February, March, and part of April. So I think it's important that we all understand the rules. I certainly think we ought to know the basic parts of them. But there really is no indication, and it said even the casual part of the notice on the warrants, that it would be recommends approval or disapproval. I mean, there wasn't even a lot of detail about that. So it's nice to have the ordinance, but I would say that probably even that should be added to it so that clearly we'd have books and we would start to, and when someone gets elected to a position like Budget Committee, these rules would be supplied to them. Because I really spent a ton of time reading through, trying to find, even find where the select board even has the ability and the power to do the process as you used to do, or has been doing, I would say.
Right.
I mean, I can't find it anywhere that says.
Nope, and again, they were never done in the past, and you guys, I think it's good that you guys are gonna have monthly meetings and do the things that has not, you know, been done in the past. So I'm gonna let somebody else talk.
One more question.
Yeah.
You're taking a lot of arrows.
Yeah.
I want, you don't have to answer this. If you had a public works garage that was everything that we want it to be, you don't have to answer this. Would you feel a certain way if it was fire suppressed one way versus another? And not to save money.
No, I think what I'm doing is I think I am going off of like what the fire marshal would say. I would do it what the codes say and the Maine State Fire Marshal would say.
But what does our ordinance say?
I think it's in the ordinance now, but we didn't go over it because we were covering that meeting the one night that we canceled it because we were supposed to have the meeting after you guys, but we were doing that solar thing. I do know that the way that they are doing it now, they're doing it per room as far as the firewalls. So that cuts it down, and they don't need the sprinkler system on there.
But just curious, if somebody were to build something similar, and they saw that we got to, I don't want to say get around it, but we got around it somehow, but we required them to sprinkle, don't you think that would cause some kind of, I don't know, animosity towards the town? Like, well, you guys have an ordinance.
Right.
You didn't do it, you got around it somehow, but now the expectation on whoever else is building, that expectation is not on there. I don't understand all this fire suppression stuff. I'm just saying, wouldn't you want the best fire suppression on a building that has chemicals, vehicles, and people inside?
No, well, and one of the things with this building is there's not going to be any people sleeping there. When we met with Wayne Jones, too, he said this is definitely a rare exception because it's in an area that's not in downtown next to the other buildings. It's out where it's close to the lake, but it's also got some kind of a fire pond possibly out back. But he definitely said with the way it is, it would not need to be sprinkled. I don't know if you saw that meeting. He did not say that. Yes, he did. He said, especially if the rooms are with the fireproof. Yes, he did in the meeting.
Well, I don't think we can get into what Wayne said here. I think the question really is
Okay.
the sense of it. But I need to correct something. It happens all the time. I've read this thing and studied it. I just saw a new policy that the town did, adopted 10/8/2019, that says every board, committee, commission will follow Robert's Rule of Order. And it was just signed in 2019 by your group. That's all right there now. So I stand corrected. I'm going to put it in my package for the next group. So thank you.
Just real quick, first of all, could I ask just a housekeeping question? Does this committee have bylaws?
No, just the ordinance. Not that I could find on anywhere I looked.
Okay, so I would recommend if you don't have bylaws, then it's the responsibility of the committee to write them.
Yep.
And the bylaws then can substitute for a lot of these questions. You're in a unique situation. We went through it on the comprehensive plan where there was some question early on when the committee was being formed whether we would use Robert's rules or not. Come to find out that any committee or board appointed by their parent, which would in our case be the select board, even if they don't have bylaws that say you will use Robert's rules, if the select board meetings are governed by Robert's rules, all of those other committees and boards are subject to use Robert's rules.
That makes sense.
The difference is that, so I'm surprised that they had to be more specific than that because that was my understanding. But what I'd look into a little bit is as far as your unique situation. You were not appointed by the select board. You're not truly a child of the select board. You basically occupy a different situation. So I'm not sure what the answer is as to whether or not you actually need bylaws that clarify exactly how you feel the board should be governed because of your unique situation.
Thank you.
Yes. Hi.
Kayla Gonzalez, 518 Webbs Mills Road. The question was posed earlier, how do we be civil? Whether you're elected or volunteer, boards and committees should work together and should treat each other with respect. So how do you make it right? You reprint the warrant articles because the intent was clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Does Sharice have a question or a comment?
No, I think she's just still up.
Yeah, I was trying to chime in. I do know, well, the Budget Finance Committee met a week ago, Tuesday. So whatever date that was, April 2nd?
Yes,
My dates
April
are all running
2nd.
together. And then the Select Board was supposed to meet Thursday, and they postponed it to Monday evening because of the storm. And yes, we were closed on Thursday, but open for business on Friday, per se. So the infraction, if you will, actually occurred at your meeting on Tuesday. And I do recall Ralph asking the town manager if the Budget Finance Committee had been notified of what he was referring to as an illegal vote. And she had responded, no, they hadn't. So I don't know where the ball dropped there, but I think it's important to share communication and not have to expect committee members or select board members to just assume that it's on the website. If something's, is information for both the Budget Finance Committee and the Select Board, then, and this is me speaking my opinion, that it should be emailed to both parties or both groups and not just one. And the plan documents, the schematics and the design drawings, the email that I received of those documents was like 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon. And I generally don't work Mondays, but I did because, I wanted to be there for the board meeting. So, but those documents at that point in time weren't emailed to the Budget Finance Committee. When they were available, I have no idea. You know, they're dated March 16th to March 20th. But again, they were emailed to board members, myself, and department heads, but not the Budget Finance Committee. And I think that's just a real poor way. It just shows that, you know, communication could be improved upon, you know, going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
I'm
that.
sure it will now.
Yeah.
I think we got a lot of chest.
You're saying we should vote?
What are your thoughts on that?
What's that?
What are your thoughts on what Peter said about voting? Think it makes a difference, or you think that we can miss?
I think we should vote anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know how to do it.
Now, I'll entertain a motion.
So, if I can put it into words, Peter, help me out if you would.
Sure. I would think that you'd make a motion that the Budget Finance Committee votes on the warrant Article 26, the Public Works Garage, the Budget Finance Committee assigns it the status of does not recommend.
Okay. I would like to bring a motion to the floor, and the motion is that the Budget Finance Committee, when it pertains to the Public Works Garage, does not recommend Article 26 to be put that way on the warrant.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Can I just say that you won't go to jail by voting for this?
I think we all need a light moment. All right, I will ask for the vote. All those in favor of the motion to assign, not recommend to the warrant, all in favor? Okay. None opposed, and the motion carries. And with that, are we ready to be adjourned? I'll take a motion
Can
to
I
adjourn.
ask if we're still planning on meeting on the 24th?
Yes,
Yes.
we are still planning on meeting on the 24th.
And I believe we owe the town manager and I believe Sharice information on what we will be discussing. Is that correct?
The town manager is putting together the agenda.
Okay, so we owe her anything else that we want.
Yes.
We'll get that to her as soon as we
Yes.
can.
We will.
I
All
Make
right.
a motion, we adjourn?
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor? Yes.
Thank
We
you,
are
everybody.
adjourned.
Thank you.